Normally people can only win from the front or win from the back, but Trevor has been able to pull off winning from unbelievable positions, and when people have written him off, he's been able to come through. And I just think that he is by far the best Ironman that I've ever seen and probably will ever see.
But in the summer of 93-94, there was one word that more than most applied to Trevor Hendy: winner.
Cleans up the Uncle Toby Super Series. Trevor Hendy, you are incredible.
It was an extraordinary season. Hendy had already won the first 3 Uncle Toby Super Series titles. But even he hadn't dominated like this before.
Winner round 3 of the Uncle Toby Super Series. Trevor Hendy, a spectacular performance.
Of the 7 races, Hendy won 5.
Somehow that wave swallowed him up. He's hanging off the side of the thing and he stayed on his ski.
Ladies and gents, this is the Great Awakening. We are in the middle of the Great Awakening. This is it. This is actually the moment we were all born for. So there's some shit we're talking about, right? That's hard and it's bad and it's not good. But this is the shit that has to happen for us to finally take back our sovereignty. You may have seen my good brother, Kelly Slater. He stood up and looked after me into a post, as did Isabel Lucas, who's standing behind me, as did Barton Lynch, as did Taj Burrow, as did a whole bunch of people that are going to slowly but surely reveal themselves over the next few weeks. And when they stood behind me, you know what happened? The media picked one person, the beautiful, the amazing, the caring, the wonderful Kelly Slater, and decided to tell everybody that's not awake that he went on an anti-vax rant. Was it an anti-vax rant? Anyone who saw it? It was a health rant. It was actually about what we're capable of. It was about our power. Have you heard about the imaginals, the imaginals? Do you know what they are? When a caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, he goes into lockdown. He goes into isolation. And there's an occurrence that happens where that caterpillar, every cell of it gets attacked and it gets broken down from a caterpillar into a pile of goop. Has anyone had moments where they felt like a pile of goop? Yep. But as those cells of that caterpillar are getting attacked, guess what happens? There's certain cells hidden inside the caterpillar. They're called imaginals. It looks like imaginals. Look up Dr. Bruce Lipton. This is science, real science. And those imaginals, what they do when it turns to goop, those imaginals, the imaginals, they hold the blueprint for the butterfly. And when everything else breaks down and it all turns to goop, they find each other. They find each other. Hello, you friggin' butterflies. We've found each other. And while we're stuck in this chrysalis and this lockdown, just know this process is going to turn you into the person you're really supposed to be. Where, beautifully said before, you get off the nipple of society and you take your power back fully. And you say no to the things that you need to say no to so your spirit comes alive. Lose money that you need to lose. Lose friends that you need to lose because they'll come with you later because you're doing it for them anyway. Lose respect that you need to lose. It's not respect, it's just judgment. It's bullshit. And stand in who you are, as you are. I'm preaching to the converted, I know. But you are the cells of the butterfly. And you are finding each other. And as we do, we get wings and we get ready to take off.
Okay, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the One Shot Movement podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of entrepreneurs, business people, anyone that's out there making it happen. And I'm with a very, very special guest today, someone that I've looked up to, and we've just recently come across each other along this journey of truth. And when I've been doing my show, Navigating the Fog to Thrive on the Other Side, I've been interviewing amazing people to, help people navigate through this situation situation, B, help them thrive on the other side. And our guest today, Trevor Hendy, is one of Australia's most iconic sporting figures. He's not just a sporting figure. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the moment. He's a multiple Australian champion, 6 times, 4 times world champion in that space. And also he's a legendary figure around the surf life-saving space. And post-career, he's really going out to inspire and educate people himself and take them on a journey. And he's one of the most sought after speakers, coaches, consultants, and he runs a phenomenal program, which we'll touch on as well. So welcome to the show, Trevor.
Thanks, Craig. Good intro, mate. But good to be with you, buddy. And isn't it cool that through, there's all these sayings, the universe never gives you a problem without hiding a solution within it. There's a silver lining in every problem. The universe never gives you a problem without that you can't handle, and we've got this massive thing going on the planet at the moment that is this massive, problem, but it's this opportunity for us to connect. And you and I have connected over, this group of people, that a network of people that have come together and found each other. I tell the story about the imaginals, which is spelt imaginals, which is the cells hidden within the caterpillar. When the caterpillar goes into the chrysalis, the cocoon, which is like lockdown and isolation, it gets broken down by this process that destroys every cell in the caterpillar. And actually the caterpillar just breaks down into this pile of goop. But the imaginal cells that sit within the caterpillar, which are slightly different, they get attacked just like the other cells, but they're resilient and they don't fall apart. And when it's all got to this certain level of goop, the imaginal cells find each other and they come together and they form the blueprint for the butterfly. And then so as they connect, they then draw from the goop, which creates the butterfly. And then when it opens up, there's this completely different creature. You've got a land-bound, earth-bound creature that's stuck on the branch climbing around. And then you end up with this winged, beautiful creature that's now free in a different dimension. And so I look at this current situation we're in and I go, the imaginals are finding each other. We're getting attacked like everybody else, but we're not breaking into a pile of goop. And in together we hold the blueprint for what's next, because this is not a problem. This is definitely an opportunity. So, mate, it's awesome to be with you, and what a blessing that we've got this crap going on so we can find each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to touch a little bit more on that. That's just pure wisdom, what you were just talking about there then. I want to just, before we dive into a little bit more of this, because your speech, which I'm going to ask you about in a minute, was like, wow, how powerful is what Trevor just said then, for people to take on board in this world of confusion. But you one of Australia's biggest icons, sporting stars that we've had in this country. Do you want to just rewind back a little bit to give some context about your career prior to where we are, and then we'll take it on from there, just to, because my guests, my audience are people from all around the world. So I'd like people to know a little bit about your background and history to where we are today, and we'll move on into that then.
Cool, mate. So 1971, believe it or not, this is where the story starts in 68 for me, but 71, I'm 3 years old. My father comes home to my mother in Melbourne. He's got it made. He's got the best job. He's got the 2 kids, my 5-year-old sister Diane, myself. He's got a pet rabbit, a pet dog, a house that he built himself with a picket fence around it, beautiful wife that he loves dearly, and he says something's not right, and everyone else is talking about in their holidays they're going to head to overseas to check out, other things and other places. And he's like, why wouldn't you check out your own country first? And he's kind of a bit miffed by this thought, and plants a seed in his mind. He comes home to my mum and says, look, why don't we pack up? I'll quit work, pack up, we'll put everything in storage and we'll tow a caravan around Australia for a couple of years and find, I don't think this is the right place for our kids to grow up. This is Melbourne, Australia, the second biggest city. Thank God. And he takes off with us in tow, and we drive 2 hours up the road, and we stayed 6 weeks, 2 hours up the road, right? And then we went all the way around. Ended up, the reason I tell this story is because it has a lot to do with the person I am now, is that the values that he demonstrated, not the values that he espoused, he demonstrated courage, he demonstrated adventure, he demonstrated his intuition, following his intuition. Mum and dad together demonstrated love, and wherever you go, I go. You know, that ability to wherever the heart is where the home is where the heart is. You know, and a sense of can do, a sense of there's something bigger out there, a sense of I'm not going to settle for what society tells me is right. There's a key value right there. What you should be doing. So we took off, and as a 3-year-old, that was imbued in me straight away. Now my sister did homeschool, but she did school by correspondence. So we would get her work sent to the post office like 500 k's up the road, and then we'd pick it up on the way through. And so she did correspondence for 2 years, and I didn't start school till we finished that 2 years around Australia. But I learned to swim in the Daly River in the Northern Territory, right at the top of Australia, which is renowned. Back then, crocodiles were hunted, so there wasn't as many crocs around. And now it's renowned for not only would you not swim, but you don't stand near the water's edge and you don't sleep within 30 meters of the water's edge. So I learned to swim there. In fact, when we used to run down the sand dune and drift down the creek back to our camp. And when we get back to camp, we, this amazing spot, blah, blah, blah. And in the drift down, I think I kind of had a little spidey sense inside of me that said, don't be at the back of the pack, and I'd swim to the middle of the pack. And I later became an Ironman, which of course, swim legs in the ocean, and was never at the back of the pack, not for long anyway. And so we left there, and 3 weeks after we left camping on the Daly River, there was a report of a 15-foot crocodile sitting on top of the sand dune. We used to all run down together as a group of families. So I learned to swim in another place that instilled values in me, but also my father would be traveling in Australia in 1971, 2 and 3, when there was just very little development in Australia, and Australia's massive. So we'd be in the middle of Australia, we'd pull up on the side of the road and go 100 meters off on a dirt track, and Dad would park the caravan, and Mum would get out and she'd be cooking chicken or rabbit Dad might have shot or trapped, or fish that we caught. And he'd take my sister and I for a walk, and we'd walk for 40 minutes off in a direction. He'd change directions, and then he'd say, okay, which way is the caravan? Show me the way home. And so I'm 4 years old at this stage, and I worked this out pretty quick, that to always know where home is. So no matter how many corners you turn, how many creeks you walk down, what you did, where's home? And I could always take us as a 4-year-old straight to home. And I tell that with a very open heart, because later on in life, I did my sport, became well known, ended up on Baywatch in a whole episode playing myself, and hung out with Madonna and Michael Jackson, and had some crazy times as a well-known Australian celebrity or personality. And the Ironman that's had this period of, they're so hot right now, the Ironman series and all this stuff. And we had an incredible time. But I lost myself during that process. So I became a nipper as an 8-year-old, cried my eyes out the first day at Surfers Paradise Surf Club in the middle of the Gold Coast. Fell in love with being around friends eventually, fell in love with the water, learned to surf, learned to paddle, learned to become a waterman ultimately, learned to become a lifesaver, rescued a lot of people. Started off, I didn't win a race till I was 16. I was world champion at 19. I had a rapid growth. I was bullied a lot as a kid. Always just the standard stuff. Always felt like the dog-eat-dog mentality and the alpha male. I remember having my first girlfriend, and coming back after a week away with my family, and she was sitting on the lap of someone else in the club, and it's like, oh my God, and he's the winner. So the winner seems to get the girl, the winner gets the last, the winner gets the say, the winner gets to call the shots. So at 16 years of age, I decided I would be the winner, and I never won a thing. And I won within 6 months, and was Australian champion later that year, and world champion within 2 years after that. So I kind of had this dormant potential, and a humble, shy little kid. But through the getting beaten up aspect, I tapped into that dormant potential. But as it came out of me with light, with connection to spirit and the ocean and people and my clubmates and my family and love. And I was married at 19, but also it came out of me with dark as well, because I wanted to beat that person up that beat me up, and I wanted to get that girl, and I wanted to be the guy and the one. So I had a lot of anger and suppressed anger and upset. And because I was come from a good family, I always showed the good guy, and everyone wanted to be like Trevor, with Trevor, around Trev, you know, when I became well known. But underneath, I was chewing up, and I had this dark thing that I was suppressing. So a lot of the wins became sugar, not, you know, pure. So I was winning on all levels. I was winning at all costs. I wasn't winning on all levels. And I eventually had a meltdown. And at about 25, 26 years of age, I really found the guy that I needed to work with, who introduced me to a group of people that I needed to work with that was out of the box. So I went through a spiritual awakening and tapped into who I really was beyond my body and mind. Like, who am I as a being, as a human, deep down? And had this crazy period of opening up and realizing who I was. And then there's an old John Denver song, Rocky Mountain High, which goes, he was born in the summer of his 27th year, coming home to a place he'd never been before. He left yesterday behind him. You might say he was born again. You might say he found a key to every door. You know, and I literally had that experience at 26, the summer of my 27th year. I woke up to more than, you know, more than my name, more than my story, more than my personality, more than my family history, more than anything. The tip of the iceberg is what you see and hear about, but all of us have such huge depth to our spirits and souls. And I remember at about, when Cody Simpson, the beautiful young Australian, I worked a lot with Cody, he's a great young mate of mine, and he wrote a song as about a 12-year-old and launched it on YouTube, and it was More Than Cody Simpson. More Than Cody Simpson. He wrote this song and it went massive around the world, got him found by, you know, LA agents, and he ended up touring with Justin Bieber and all this sort of stuff, and got launched into the US. He's back on the Gold Coast now, but I more than Cody Simpson, more than Trevor Hendy, more than Craig Schultz, you know, more than whoever's listening. So the story of who we really are, you know, and that opened up to me. So that took me through a catharsis. So there's my whole story in 5 or 8 minutes or whatever it is. But won a lot of titles, got to the top of my field, and so grateful and thankful for every single moment of that journey, and the people I met, and the screw ups, the mess ups, the dark side that came out, the things that I learned, the things that I did, the betrayals that I was a part of, the things that I got into when I got lost. I was never a drug person, but we drank and partied afterwards. And then that original guy that wanted to get the girl always had that addiction or connection to the winner gets the girl, you know. And so I lost my way, and wasn't true to my, you know, my partner, and wasn't true to who I really was, wasn't true to my mum and dad's values. And so I say all that because I went off in the wilderness, and then as soon as it was time to find my way back, I knew where home was, you know, as my father had taught me. And I went, okay, I went astray and found my way home. And when I did, I came back and made those apologies and corrected the record and opened the truth up. And every relationship I had, past and current and everything, just became beautiful and amazing and connected and based now on truth rather than deceit. And so, and, you know, not only that, the idea that I am this person and I can do this and I'm that's deceit. That's telling yourself lies. You know, we're all on a journey. So found my way back, and that's how I got to the second part of the story and became a life coach, soul coach, bit of an intuitive, you know, healer as such. And I work with people to find their way back to their truth, you know, back to thank you in life and realign. So I hope that summarizes it.
Yeah. Oh, look, I mean, you've just opened up probably, I'd love to start with about 10 questions out of all that. Yeah, so yeah. Let me get through. But I one of my questions was, at what point did you become, you know, enlightened or start seeking truth? You sort of mentioned it there a bit in your story at 26, etc. For me, very similar in lots of different ways. I mean, we've had a phone conversation. I've shared this story with you, and most of my guests have heard this story before. I'm very open about it, but I was hustle harder, work harder. I was South Australia's fitness professional of the year, had 5 fitness clubs, set up 22 franchises, and it was just grind. I was an emotional, empty vacuum of never shared emotion with anyone. I did it tough through the global financial crisis. I just said, I'm just too strong. I'll just get through it. And I'll just be like that tractor, just plowing through the paddocks. Never cried in front of my wife before. And I share with you in 2014, we lost our first son, who was a stillborn. And in that moment, that changed my whole perspective of the world, life, etc. And, I cried for hours through the delivery. I spent 2 days with my son pledging to him that he will make impact on this planet, not physically, because he's not going to be leaving with us at home, but spiritually he will. And I wrote a book about it, You've Got One Shot, which is about you've got one shot at life, go and give it your best shot. And then I started interviewing people like yourself, and then we come into this situation, and then that's led me on a whole new journey. I closed the book with a letter to my son, as now it's the time for us to shine the light in the world. And that letter to him was, you know that I'll do the work, you lead me to the right people. And through this journey, I've interviewed, so many, 200 of the most inspiring people in the world because of that. That was my awakening. You sort of just shared where your awakening is, but at some point people will wake up. And I think right now the pressure cooker that we're all being put into over the last 2 years has got people to a situation where they are waking up, they are asking more questions, they are searching more truth, they are connecting to a tribe. And I want to sort of just lead into this. So I've just through what I was doing, the work I was doing, Sam, a co-friend of ours, she's introduced me to this group, which is yourself and a few other people. Then we're having conversations. I had a conversation with Rob Chapman, your friend, for the first time, yourself. And we just first time meet, and we talk for hours. It's like a soul and energy type of last week I'm having dinner with John Farris from, In Excess, and you're having this really deep and meaningful conversation. So, I just wanted to share that with people, because this could be your moment that you wake up, you start going, right, now is going to be a better future for me. Like Trevor just shared his story about that. I've just shared that there. Do you think ego, I'm sort of off, I was just contributing there, but do you think ego was a big problem for you and that was causing destruction? Because I write about that in my book, that your ego could be your best friend or your worst enemy. Do you think it was because you didn't understand your ego, or do you want to talk to it about ego? Because I think it'd be a really powerful thing for people to understand.
Mate, talk about 10 ways to answer too. Beautiful question and beautiful dialogue. Firstly, Robert Chapman was the one that inspired me. My heroes were Dwayne Tyers and Grant Kenny. The South Australian world champion Dwayne Tyers, and Grant Kenny, the golden boy of our sport. But we sat and watched, my coach and I, who became my coach, who was Dwayne's coach, we sat and watched the Australian Ironman title in 1984, and I watched Robert Chapman win it. And as he won it, I was 15, and as he won it, I'd missed out on the heat of my Ironman at the Aussies. As he won the race, I was thinking, wow, that's incredible. And I heard Bill say, still no one's perfected the race. All right. And then he came to the club to coach us a few months later, and he sent us away with a bunch of goals, to set a bunch of goals. I came back, set my goal to win the Australian Ironman title, as I mentioned, as a 16-year-old, be world champion, all this sort of stuff. And when he asked me, he said, all right, that's beautiful goals. And he didn't even say, how about we start with the branch title? Because I was rated 5th in my own surf club out of 6 as a junior amongst 300 clubs in Australia. So maybe we start with the club championship. No. Top 3 in the club championship. No, I started with, I want to be world champion. And he said, no problems. Are you willing to do what it takes? I said, yep. And I was. Surprisingly, I was like, oh, yes, I am. So he came to me and he said, look, those goals are beautiful. I'll see you on the beach, blah, blah, in 15 minutes. So those goals are beautiful, but you need a process goal. I said, what's something that you want to do that's your process, your goal for the process? And I sat and thought about it, and I went, I want to perfect the Ironman race. Because I'd heard him say no one's perfected the race, even though we saw Robert Chapman win, and I thought it was perfect. So Rob Chapman's race inspired me to perfect the race. So ultimately, 1995, so where am I? How does this work? I'm trying to remember what year it was. 1994, I'm crossing the line to win the World Ironman title. And as I crossed the line, my 4th World Ironman title, as I crossed the line, I thought to myself, wow, I just perfected the race. Like it was like I'd raced the perfect race. And my very next thought was, oh crap, what do I do next? And as I thought, I perfected the race. Wow, I just perfected only one time in my whole career. I crossed the line, went, what do I do next? And I ran, but they had to switch it to another beach because of massive surf. So it was basically dark when I finished this race, last event of World Championships. I ran through the media and the crowd. And as I crossed the line, all there was a sheer rock face in this harbour that we had to race in. And so I'm like, what's next? And all I had in front of me was a massive rock face. And it was so symbolic because everything I'd suppressed was waiting for me to deal with. So when I refer to the ego, I love Eckhart Tolle's version. Ego equals unconscious. So the unconscious aspect of myself, which is the unlovable, feel not good enough, I'll never be enough, I'll never be able to do enough. You're going to criticize me or jump on me or beat me up if I'm not good enough. You know, people will take advantage of me. I'll take advantage of you before you take advantage of me. I'll never feel like that again. They're the elements that made up my ego. So my ego doesn't equal arrogance. Ego equals anything that's unconscious inside of you. So ego could equal, I can't do it. That's our ego. Because, you know, so our front cover says, I'm awesome. I'm a legend. Look at me now. I'm really sexy. My back cover says, I'm the unsexiest person on the planet. I'm a friggin' loser. No one would want to know me, you know, and neither of those are the truth. One's a projection to not feel the other, and the other's not the truth anyway. So those days that we feel small and not good enough and not enough, we then project something to make ourselves feel better or never feel that again. So the ego, the outward aspect, is the projection away from it. So absolutely, my ego is the problem, because my need to go and be with the girl of the nightclub, so I was the guy of the nightclub. My need to have the guys know or see that was all about projecting this image, so I didn't have to feel the original loser that I felt, which is not real either. And so not only, there's an old saying, my great spiritual teacher, and he would hate being referred to as a spiritual teacher, he said to me, and that was, when you have a solution to a problem without a change of awareness, that solution will eventually become the problem. So my unconscious solution was, I'll become the guy, because the guy gets everything. He never has to feel what I just felt. So I'll become the guy. So my solution was to be the guy, and the guy became the problem. So what I was trying to do is trying to become someone else so I'd be comfortable enough to be myself. And of course, I just ended up being this other person. So I presented the Ironman, I presented a bulletproof persona, but actually underneath it, I was lost and failing and losing and everything. So the ego was the whole problem. What actually changed it was when my first wife, Jackie, was pregnant with TJ when I went through that. We broke up in the middle of a second child, TJ. And when he was born, and I held him. And so this is where our story is so same, but different, because of what followed from afterwards, from your son and my son. And the tragedy of the two differences is very noted here, you know. But when he was born, his big brown eyes stared back at me. And I was in tears when you were sharing the story, mate, because his big brown eyes stared back at me. And all I saw was I wasn't the man that I wanted to be when the son arrived that I wanted, you know. And I vowed in that moment to become that man. I was hiding things. I was lost. And so my son arrived. I'm going to say this, and I believe this, and I know this, and I feel this deep down. My son arrived with a contract, with an arrangement, with an agreement with me. I'm coming, Dad, I'm coming. And when I'm there, look out, because I'm going to arrive with a bang. And he did. And he just looked in my eyes, and he just looked at me like that straight away. As soon as he was born, he was looking at me. And he's like, I'm here. What are you going to do? And poor man, it stripped me inside and out. And I immediately started looking at who I was and what was going on. And I was already moving on to another relationship. I was already, I hadn't confronted or faced anything. So whether that was right or wrong to be with someone new that I really felt connected with, what wasn't right was I hadn't dealt with anything, that I'd ran away from it. And so nothing that I'd suppressed or hidden or ran away from, I got away with that, to face every single bit of it. So a journey started to actually resolve that. And it resolved through that my second child. My first child, Christelle, I raced for my whole life. My first beautiful daughter, and who's just my soulmate, and Jackie, her and I were a really tight team, and I got lost and further down this path. And then TJ came along, and he went, back to you, buddy, back to you. And I found my way back, and he was the inspiration. When the teacher's ready, the teaching and the teachers appear. And I found, Keith Maitland, an incredible chiropractor, told me I was way off track. I wanted to punch him in the face and kill him, but I just smiled, started some work with him. He introduced me to some amazing people that were doing coursework. I started that work, and then I really had to face myself. And that was, don't walk through this door unless you want to confront, everything about yourself that's not really you. And so a journey started. And to be honest, I'm 53. That journey started when I was 26. So I've just gone past, I've just done more time awakening than I did going to sleep. I've done 27 years awakening after 26 years of sleep. And I can feel that. The balance of that's crazy, because I just said to my wife and my family, Friday till Sunday night was the 3 most awakened, beautiful, peaceful, spiritual days of this lifetime that I've had. So I've just had this incredible feeling of who I really am and why all that happened and what occurred. So absolutely the ego was the problem, but the ego was the opportunity, because every screw up I did created the most incredible lesson and such compassion and understanding for other people. I can sit in front of anybody right now and they can say, I killed someone. I go, and not because I killed someone, because I didn't, but I had the same energy inside of me, and I can say, it's okay, tell me about it. I don't know. I raped someone. I whatever it is, and I can sit with them and understand, and go, I understand, and they can just pour it all out in front of me because of what I did. So the ego was the problem, and it became the opportunity, and then the gift, the great gift. And so I'm so thankful for the whole journey, every single part of it, even the pain I caused others, because it created the sorrow and the awakening in me to actually correct myself and give them the level of love that they deserved. So my beautiful second wife, Jo, and I have been on that journey for 27 years together. And our 2 kids, Bailey and Charlie. So I created girl, boy, girl, 2 amazing relationships, and 2 incredible women, and 2 beautiful people that have changed my life completely. And my wife and I, still, Jo and I call my first wife and my second wife, not my ex-wife, because, Jo and I have like a honeymoon 27 years later, because of what we came through. We still learn from each other every day. Just 3 days ago, I went, oh my God, I've been keeping you in a box and I've been stopping you from moving. And she's like, don't worry, I've been stopping myself because it was convenient for me, and da, 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 da. And, and I've been holding you in the box, so we're learning every single day still all these years later. And I haven't learned it part of me goes, you should learn it faster. And like, no, bullshit. You learn it exactly the pace you're meant. So what an opportunity, what an awakening. It started from my son, followed through all these teachings and these people, but it ends with great friends, like yourself and Sam and John and other people.
Yeah. And just look, I mean, that's the important thing. People need to go on the journey and experience this stuff. And, I always say to people, my journey left home when I was 15, not because I wasn't loved. It was because my town only had 1,000 people, and our school only went to year 10. So if you didn't want to work in the mine, you had to leave home. So I sort of felt like I've been homeless twice. I fired my boss when I was 21 to follow my dreams and passion. And, but that was a 20-year journey, and people want the big success by doing 2 years of work. And, you've just experienced so people are impatient. But the one thing that I just took it out of what you were just talking about, which really does lead into some of the most important parts here, is truth. And you were just talking about, you faced yourself. Truth in this experience has been suppressed in lots of ways, and people haven't been able to find truth. And then you have the matrix of the media and the government message and the narrative, and trying to suppress information for people to actually source that. And you're challenged in the matrix because you might have started to explore an alternate narrative, whether it be the risks of an experimental procedure, or what treatments are good for you, and what all these measures actually really mean. And then you're confronting this people stuck in the matrix where they're going, you're just crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're right-wing extremist, etc., etc. Truth is a powerful thing, and love is another powerful thing. It's probably the highest vibrating word that you can have. This is starting to come to the surface now. You come out and started speaking out, and I say to everyone, there's a line in the sand moment. My line in the sand was 2 weeks of flattening the curve. I gave the government that, no more like that. So I started speaking out. Some people's line in the sand was, well, I've complied. I've had 1 and 2. Now you're saying I need 3 and 4 and a subscription. Some people, it's the kids. Where do you sit on how important discovering the truth is? And also, what was your line in the sand moment where Trevor Hendy goes, okay, I need to speak up about this?
Yeah. It would be no surprise that my line in the sand after the story I just told about TJ was that his, granddaughter, my granddaughter, his daughter, 4 months old now, and Christelle's twin sons, they're coming up to 20 months old now. When one of the New South Wales governmental officials does a press conference after the Olympics and says, great news, we are going to vaccinate 25,000 children, school children, in stadiums this week. Parents, you won't be able to come with them. You drop them off at school. They'll get in a school bus. They'll come. We'll look after them. They'll come in. They'll get their jab. They'll get a certificate. They'll go back to school. You'll pick them up in the afternoon. They'll leave. And I was already like going, And they said, as the Olympians would say to you, never miss an opportunity when it presents. And I could swear my head off at this point of the interview. Like, I was so friggin' upset. I was like, it was the moment that my DNA was activated to speak. I was waiting for the moment. I was sitting there going, hold space, hold space, hold space, hold space, hold space, hold space, observe, hold space, show truth, be true, whatever, stand your ground, blah, blah, blah. And then that was the moment. I was like, you're kidding. You just use sports heroes and put them into parents' minds to say your sports heroes would tell you, don't miss an opportunity, drop your kid off at the bus and go get him or her vaccinated. And that was the moment my DNA was activated, as was Barton Lynch's, as was Robert Chapman's, who contacted me within a day at the same time. And then I got the three of us together on a call and we started Voices for Choices. And for people that want to have a look at it, it's Voices, the number 4, choices.life. And what we did was we went, Andrew Bogut was talking a lot about where are the celebrities? Where are the people that are, that are on, that are just taking the money and not speaking the truth? Other people must see what I'm seeing. And I was seeing it, and I was waiting. I was going, yeah, I'm coming, but just wait. I tried to send him a message and everything. Didn't have his number at that stage, so I couldn't contact him directly. Anyway, activated, got these guys together. We eventually had Luke with us as well, Andrew Bogut with us as well. And but Kelly Slater came on board straight away. Isabel Lucas, a great friend of ours, Andrew Crockett, Taj Burrow, Andy Akova, the musician, beautiful guy here, does amazing music on the Gold Coast. It started with that group. I'm missing a few, but started with that group and a few others, and we had our first phone call together. And our idea was that there's three parts of the puzzle. You've got the doctors and the truth, not the truth that the media is the propaganda, the actual truth, the frontline doctors, the people that actually know what's really going on, what's in these concoctions, what it can do to people, what is happening to people. But the doctors who are speaking that have no platform. Then you have, and they build a platform instantly, and then it gets taken out from underneath them. Then you have the celebrities who have got millions of followers, and a certain portion of them can see straight through what's going on, going, this is garbage. Others are actually going, roll your sleeve up. We're going, oh, so two pieces of the puzzle, the doctors with the truth, the celebrities with the platform, but the biggest piece of the puzzle is the people. The people who know the truth when they hear it, the people who go, doesn't sound right, and then there's no alternate viewpoints. When someone says it, and they go, keep speaking to me. So we knew Voices for Choices was to get the truth spoken and amplified through the influences so that more people could hear it, because the media and the government were doing, and social media were doing an incredible job of silencing anyone who said anything else. So whether or not our truth is the truth doesn't actually matter. The stopping of the debating of what the truth is, because you don't need the truth to be free, because the truth is a subjective thing. What you need is a truth, an actual honest truth, not a deception, not a lie, not an agenda. And so we wanted truths to present themselves to people, and then invite the people to be part of that conversation. And it grew to all sorts of different people. To the end, we had a conversation. I got COVID about 5 weeks ago. And actually, funnily enough, for the first day in a couple of weeks, I slept till 9 a.m. this morning, and crazy. My wife's up at 5. I'm normally up about, I'll say 6, but she'd laugh if she heard this, about 7, sort of lately. But 6:30, 7 o'clock. And unless I'm surfing or doing something else, I get up a bit later these days. And I this morning I slept till 9 o'clock. She came in and went, what's going on? I'm like, oh my God, I'm just exhausted again, a little bit of a revisit of it. But day 3 of COVID, we had a phone call, a Zoom call, private. We made it private. It actually almost got advertised, and other parties that shouldn't be on that call were going to be on the call. So we made it private at the last minute. We had 10 of the best doctors in the world. We had Dr. Robert Malone, the co-creator of, as you know, of mRNA vaccines. We had Pierre Corey, the incredible frontline doctor that was the first one to break the horse dewormer drug, and utilize it with patients to keep them out of hospital. Like, one person out of 700 goes to hospital under his treatment, absolutely incredible what he did. We had Mike Yeadon, the Pfizer whistleblower, former VP of Pfizer. We had Sucharit Bhakti, who is just an incredible biochemist, unbelievable, amazing man. And he's German. We had Zach Bush, one of the greatest up-and-coming doctors of our time. We had Bruce Lipton. I'm missing people. We had Craig Alexander. We had Paul Alexander, Craig Martinez. These are beautiful people. I sat listening to these people going, oh my God, thank you just for me meeting you, Who we had interviewing them? Eric Clapton, Kelly Slater, Ingo Rademacher, after he resigned from General Hospital, because he wouldn't do the mandate. Incredible people, John Farris, incredible people from around the world interviewing these doctors. Pat Cash, so Pat Cash asked them a question about Novak Djokovic coming into the country. They answer it. We put it into a 1-minute clip. Pat posts it on Instagram. 65,000 people had watched it by that night. The next morning, it was deleted with a warning to him to not post any more stuff like that. I commented on it. I got a warning for commenting. Great work, Pat. Blah 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 blah. So, you know, the heavy hand of let's just say the heavy hand of you will not escape this without a fight is very, very strong and evident through media, through government, through social media. And if you don't believe it, present an alternate viewpoint, like Sambo Patrick, our friend, has, and like I have. You know, I'm the anti-vax poster boy, apparently. When I chose to speak about power of freedom of choice. Freedom of choice, Voices for Choice stands for freedom of choice, freedom of movement, and freedom of communication. You know, 3 things that make the human race thrive. You know, no. 3 things that will give you, if we think in certain, you know, it's like, whoa, this is not a human force that's controlling this. This is not a governmental official who's lost the plot. This is a dark, non-human force that's actually running through these people. It's convinced them that they're doing the right thing to save the world. A lot of them, some of them know what they're doing, but a lot of them don't know what they're doing and just doing the right thing. And this is a non-human force, you know, trying to take away human elements to end us in this place, you know, to go through a global reset, to reset the global government and the global monetary system, and they'll be the saviors. Now, 100%, that's what it's always been about. And it's also about tech control for everyone in a digital platform where, you know, everyone's movements and everyone's behaviors is known. China's been a great example of that, the social credit system, you know, and that was, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? About 6 months. Yeah. You know, that's an outrageous, ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous conspiracy theory. You are gone mad. Just wait a few months, guys, and have a look what they present after they distract you with this fabricated war that they're about to present to you. This is actually a game. It's a game that's been playing out for a long time. And we talk about all that. That's not the actual ultimate agenda. The ultimate agenda is not to stay in power. And I'll say it here now, the ultimate agenda is to continue convincing people that they are not powerful. They don't want power now. That this force wants power for 1,000 years. This wants power in the planet forever. It wants human beings to not know how powerful they are. And from someone, don't believe anything I say, guys and girls, just take it as a viewpoint. It's like, if it sparks something inside of you, follow the spark. You know, if something blue pops up, follow the blue, because the blue is the blue sky that you're going towards. But ultimately, these crazy viewpoints from this lunatic guy, Trevor Hendy, that's saying this, they're actually, the ultimate agenda is a non-human agenda to actually convince people that they are not powerful, and for us to continue to hand over our sovereignty and to say, oh, as long as I've got beer, porn, Friday night football, technology every 2 years, some great fashion jeans, and you like me and love me, I'll give you whatever I want. And just government, it's your job to give me that. While we can't imagine it right now, what government would look like if we took our power back, let's just say it would be actually a collective government of people that were most capable of running it, not a collective government of the same people that put us in this situation. So one world government is probably close to the answer, but not the people that are offering it, you know. So ultimately, a whole big scenario and story is that, how do I feel about this whole scenario? Your body doesn't need something it doesn't need. You know, your spirit doesn't need something it doesn't need. You do not need someone to run your affairs for you. This is a great gift. This is the Great Awakening. It's attempted to be the global reset. It's attempted to be 1,000 years of humanity shut back down, but actually hidden in it is the Great Awakening. So a greater force than this non-human force that's actually trying to control it is the spiritual, let's call it godlike source force that actually goes, hey guys and girls, it's time to remember who you are, you know, and that's what's actually happening right now. This is the Great Awakening, and every attempt they do to actually get us into this place where we die, you know, is an opportunity for us to awaken and find each other. So there's going to be a few things play out. I'm seeing sort of 2, 3 to 5 years. I'm no clairvoyant, but feeling what I feel inside of me, inside of my bones, that proves to be accurate a lot of the time, much of the time, is that I said to a few people 2 weeks ago, oh, yeah, we're about to have a war. Be followed by an attempt to do a global reset. They'll crash the world economy and attempt to do a global reset based on their principles and ideas. And that's about the point of time that enough people say enough is enough. Ottawa, Canberra, is showing us right now that people have had enough, and they will go to great lengths. In Ottawa, they asked the military to go in and remove the people, and the military said, you'll have to use another division. We're not going to do it. So anyway,
I think well said. A lot of my interviews, I have dived into a lot of those topics that you just spoke about. So most people will be very well aware of that agenda. And for me, I've been deplatformed 4 times since the start of this truth seeking and exposing and sharing. And the thing is, since when has science been a one-sided, you put forward a hypothesis, you expect to be challenged. You should welcome it to be challenged, but the narrative of a needle in everyone's arm is a one-size-fits-all approach. You have to ask questions. I started my journey where it was when 1 + 1 doesn't equal 4. That's what the media are telling you. That's what the government are trying to tell you. We know mathematically 1 + 1 doesn't equal 4. This doesn't make any sense. Novak Djokovic is the fittest person arguably on the planet in regards to what he does, but he's a bigger health risk to society. Somebody that's 100 kilos overweight, drinker, smoker, drug user, the worst diet in history because they've kept up their needle program. Doesn't make any sense. That's a
couple of those are in government making decisions, not 100K overweight, but people that don't even know what health is. My great friend Kelly Slater came in to defend me on a post a comment that I posted. I put on a post, and someone said, "Oh, what, you tell me doctors, and he said, I know more about health than doctors do, and 99% of doctors do. You know more about the doctors." He goes, yeah, they're not taught about health. They're taught about sickness, and they're taught about how health is actually health, not being sick, And so he went on a health rant, and they called it an AV rant, an anti-V rant, and labelled that ever since, And so it's crazy because what's happening is the people that haven't got a clue what they're talking about are actually telling us what the truth is about something they haven't even investigated, they haven't even lived. I took Nurofen, had a heart reaction during COVID. I stupidly bought into it. COVID's bigger than any other flu, and you better be careful. And I took the IV, and at the start, and I took the Nurofen, when I had a heavy pain, and the pain went away, and I had heart palpitations straight away. I took it again in the middle of the night, same thing. The great doctor, Dr. Greg Fitzgerald, eventually said to me, mate, get off everything. Don't take anything. Go to bed, fast all day, eat a tiny little bit of living foods. Don't even hydrate. Only drink water when you're absolutely thirsty. Sleep, turn your phone off. See you in 5 days. You'll either be dead or more alive than you've ever been. And and literally I went through all these heart things in 5 days. But literally he said to me, why did you take Nurofen? I said, I was in so much pain. And he goes, have you ever taken it before? I said, never. And he goes, and I took Nurofen and Panadol. And he goes, and Panadol? I said, I've taken Panadol 3 times in the last 30 years. I haven't had antibiotics in 30 years. I started on a course of antibiotics. I took the first dose, and he said, get rid of that, stop. Your body won't deal with this with those things in it. That's more poison to get rid of. He said, what are you trying to do? He goes, go to sleep. Wake up, you'll be better. And literally, I got better from that. I said, oh my God, you're not preaching to the converted. You're reminding the converted, right? And I already knew this, but thank you in the midst of this for reminding me. I got better every single day. So why am I going to suddenly go, this is big, it's terrible, it's painful, it's going to get you all? Why am I suddenly going to go, I need this thing in my arm that I've never needed? And now my story about that would 2 years ago be promoted and lauded as incredible health, and what a success story that someone finds. Now I'm an AV lunatic, because I don't believe in the science that says I'm in danger. So I just did the COVID cycle. I did the 2-week cycle. I had the Delta, and 2 weeks of it. And it was crazy and fun and interesting. And every single day it changed. And it's been played with in the lab. It's just my belief, because I could feel the programming in the thing change every single. I was waking up in the middle of the night going, whoa, there's a thing inside this virus. So I just did it, experienced it, learned what the best way to get rid of it, do nothing, and as long as you're being monitored by someone who's advised you to do that, I wouldn't advise everyone to do that, just lay in bed and die. But I'm not a doctor, I'm not giving advice, but it's crazy because we do not need, what's prescribed to us. Some people might be right and ideal for them. Absolutely, and that whatever percentage that is, but I can tell you it's not 90% of people need that, from experience. So anyway, I cut you off, bro, but that's what my God, this idea that you need something outside of yourself, which is the government, which is the treatment, which is the news to tell you what to do next. I'm a good mate. I have good rapport with Carl, Big Carl on Channel 9. I'm like, oh, guys, I'm trying to send them a vibe. At some point, please let go of this arrangement you have. This is in a bubble. Stop telling people this. This is only true in that bubble, and it's not even true in that bubble. It's a truth that they can control in that bubble, but we don't belong in that bubble. There's nothing they've got in there that we need as humans. It's time to let go of our reliance on it. And on that, I'm actually calling every human being, myself and us included, to say, we created this because we accepted this help, instead of saying, I don't need that help. I don't need their help. We've got each other. We can trade with each other. We can actually do all sorts of different things with each other and help each other. That's the future of humanity. The future of humanity is what we had before someone offered the solution a few hundred years ago and we bought it and ended up in taxes and ended up in oppression and, we'll be told what to do, when to do it, and borders with cut off. So the great solution is actually us. The great solution is the awakening to realize I have everything I need in myself, and what I don't have in myself is in the person next to me. And if I grant them love and connection, we can share whatever it is that we need. And that's where we're headed.
And I just, I've been actually running a bit of a free course, to give an example of that, a contribution only. It's a 5-week masterclass series where I teach people, how to be the starting part of the journey of how to be sovereign and how to, be their own hero and be able to disconnect from this matrix, so they start thinking outside the square, like making sure that they become financially independent. Because the first time I've ever said in my life, wealth has nearly superseded health, because, and I'll come back to that, you might freak out by that first statement, because so many people that didn't want this have had to compromise their health because they were not financially independent. So one of their number one goals moving forward in this program is to become financially independent. So you can say no, because, but health is always going to outweigh wealth. But in this situation, see how many people have had to jump off the cliff because 60 days time, they take my house. I can't put food on the table. I can't do this. I can't do that. So I say, start at earning $250 a week, doing something else, just so you can become more sovereign. But this course I put together was really about helping people think for themselves, helping people with, to create more sovereignness in their life. So they're not under this control model. So they do have the ability to say no. And I gave it all away for free. So you're talking about trading for people. I do it with love and gratitude, because I started helping Mickey Willis fundraise for Plandemic 3. And I said, all I want is, if you get value out of me, contribute to Plandemic 3, because of the wonderful work that he's done. He's building another amazing fundraising project to save the people. So you're just touching on there, the learn to trade with each other, learn to, not rely on the system, learn to think for yourself. Like, these are really, really important things that need to be implemented moving forward, because you do need to be your own hero. I've heard you talk a little bit about vibration before, and this connection, and which I think really does lead into yourself and becoming the best version of yourself. Do you want to just touch on, energy and this sort of higher level? Because I think people really need to understand this a bit more.
Yeah, I'll pull a few bits that you just spoke about together in that. If I say that we're in the third dimension, just as a viewpoint, not to be scientifically correct, we're in the third dimension at the moment. In the third dimension, it's that I'm referring to, we're on the planet, we're competing for resources. There's more or less, there's rich or poor, there's fat and skinny, there's dumb and smart, there's winner, loser, success, failure. It's all duality. It's a constructed reality. So we have a fifth dimensional reality available to us right here, right now, where we're connected with nature, everything. We can feel the world breathing. There's an awakening. That's we wouldn't even say that is awakening. There's an awakening to that. Awakening goes beyond that, right? So we can feel it. So as I talk about it, whatever you acknowledge, whatever you appreciate appreciates. What you acknowledge grows. What you focus on grows. As I talk about the fifth dimension, for me, who's been, third, fourth dimension, talking about concepts and the planet and everything else, so I talk about the fifth, my energy expands immediately. It's like people might feel it right now as we're talking about it. You might feel a lightness rising in you, or something like, yeah, what's that? So spiritually, our actual identity, our actual who we are, resides out there. We are actually spiritual beings that are connected to Source. And Eckhart Tolle says our primary purpose in this life is to know ourselves as Source, is to come out and go, is that me? It's like, yeah. Am I one with everything? It's like, yes. It's like, oh my God, how long has this been going on? This is you. There's nothing other than this. But we're having an experience. Let's say when I walk into a movie theater, I suspend my knowing that there's a projector up the back throwing some pictures on a screen that isn't real. And I suspend my knowing so I can most enjoy the movie. I don't go there and go, oh, he's an actor. I go and go, oh, Keanu Reeves, Neo is the one, and I can go and I can suspend my reality. So in a similar way, you are the light. That's who you are. That's who we are. It's just a viewpoint, but just feel it. You are the light. That's who we all are. And we're projecting our light, our deeper blueprint information. We're projecting it into a simulation, into a reality that we're all living together. We've all basically agreed on. But it's going through the projector, and it's actually going through the film. And the film is my past, my story. He did this, she did that. Oh God, I wish I could get with her or him. Or, it's projecting through the duality that's printed onto the film. And so the vibration that you are in as a light being, as an actual being, who you really are, is light, is buoyant, is floating, is space itself, is highly creative. It's highly just dimensionally shifts and moves and changes and everything else. But the dimension that we think we are through our mind is, I'm Trevor Hendy speaking to Craig Schultz, to all these other people, Billy Blogs and, Jojo and whoever else is listening. And we're all having this shared group experience, right? So vibrationally, if you begin to align yourself with the truth of who you are, even if you don't feel that's truth or know that's truth, allow the possibility that's who you are. As you align with that, your life begins to shift and align with that. So someone asked me, I had a beautiful session with a lady, amazing lady the other day. She's a doula and a healer. And she said to me, as she felt peace, she said, what about the warrior? Should we be balancing this peace with the warrior? Because a lot of people in spirituality are saying, you're not free unless you're you're not true unless you're the warrior. And it was really beautiful because she asked me the question and allowed the answer to present to myself as well. I was like, I said with parentswithquestions.com, amazing website to go look at, parentswithquestions.com. And I did a little video for them where I said, soon as they announced 5 to 11-year-olds were going to be approved for the V, I've been a pretty peaceful being for a long time, but I went back to being a warrior. And I went into that space of the fight. You will not come near my kids and my grandkids and blah, blah, which is what activated me. That was the blueprint activation, right? The DNA activation, and that I shared about before. And I did a 45-second clip saying that it's had 100+ thousand views. And I became the warrior. I actually got the COVID, the virus, from the warrior energy I dropped into, which I hadn't been into from a long time. I didn't release the virus until I went, can you tell me why it's not going? And I got within 1 minute, you've gone into opposition. I was in opposition to the V, opposition to the media, opposition to the government. I'd gone into opposition, which is not, opposition's a wonderful thing to learn from, but I'm not in opposition anymore. It's not where I am. I'm actually in oneness. That's what I've been. A lot of my life is in oneness. I'm observing and I'm being with what's going on. So the warrior is really powerful unless you've gone past it. And then it actually will take you back down. So if I add a vibration to myself that's not who I am anymore, I then brought in the actual whole sickness, and had the experience. And I was like, it was a great experience. It's what I needed to realize. Let it go, Trev. It's likewise similar with if I had the money, I wouldn't have to take the jab to keep the job. It's like, absolutely, that is such a powerful thing that you're doing for people, because you're providing them with an opportunity to free them out. For me, it's been like, I can have no money, and which I had a period, and my jobs, the work that I was doing was in Western Australia, and you can't do it anymore unless you take the jab. And I went, bad luck. I'm not taking the jab. Build it and they will come. Whatever I need will be there next. I don't need to have something in advance. And I remember the beautiful book, The Mutant Message Down Under, where this American lady comes and she ends up traveling through the Australian wilderness with a group of our First Nations people. And she, at the start of the day, they've got nothing. And someone steps forward and says, I am Goanna Hunter, and they say that's his name for the day. And he says, I've got food for us for the day. Follow me. So he leads for the day. And at the end of the day, when they're pulling up where they get, Goanna walks out and he grabs it and they have dinner, And so he doesn't say, if I can get a goanna, we can walk a long way. I will walk a long way and the goanna will be waiting for us. So there is, in the beautiful wisdom that you're doing and what you're doing for people, there's also that progression into they're not opposing viewpoints. They're viewpoints that one leads to the other. So we get to have money which allows us to say no. And then later on in life, we get to say no, which allows us to open back up to the money, and we can say no. And the universe goes, what do you need, sweetheart? Just to pay the rent and, here's that and a bit more. Like when someone does a session with you and leaves a tip, which I had the other day, someone left me a beautiful tip. And I was like, I was just doing a session, and at the end of the session, I thought, I probably should raise my session prices at the moment. It just popped into my mind. It's not something I worry about. And at the end of it, he tipped me the amount that I was thinking, and it's like, he goes, oh, here's that, and left. So there's a really beautiful, powerful moment that we're going through where absolutely we come together to help us create community, help us create money, exchange with each other, but also know if you absolutely don't have it and you can't see how to have it, stay true to yourself and the opportunity will present. And sometimes it might slightly go one before the other, So I'm very much of the mindset that this is a great opportunity for us to realize we don't need anything they're offering, and we can work together. And I love what you're doing, because what it's doing is creating people, it's giving people a stable platform, because what I've said is pretty out there. What I've just said is pretty out there, but it's grow towards it and it'll be just normal for you at some point in time, because I didn't automatically go, oh yes, I'll just have nothing and say no to what they're offering. I've taken the bait so many times, but I've just got to the point. My wife has a project called the Sacred Sister Project, and she is realizing deeper and deeper. I always go to this place I'm 3 years older, and I learned this a little sooner, and then she goes, oh, and then she goes, oh my God, you're so right. It works out every single time. When am I going to learn to trust you? And I'm like, don't trust me. trust you, trust spirit, trust that you know, we're on the right track together. But she just stepped with me the other day towards, got nothing. We just had no work for about 8 weeks, you know, Christmas and then sick and everything else, got nothing. And it's like, no, doesn't matter, it'll be fine. And then she stepped with me and went, you're right. And then the next day, a course that she did, people start signing up. And by the way, the most powerful words I was introduced to understand this is in the money is flows and exchange. Keep your flows open and be in exchange with other people. If you've got a grudge against your ex-wife or husband that you don't want to resolve, you'll never, ever have your flows fully open until you go, that poison you've got against them is poisoning you and poisoning everything. Let go of it. It's killing you. It's killing your flows. So if there's a blocked flow somewhere, you know, you haven't forgiven someone, or you haven't let someone off the hook, or you haven't moved on from a huge grieving or something, open the flow and let it go and ask the universe to help you let it go. And when you do, it opens the flows in everything, because it's all connected, because you are one with source. There's nothing outside of yourself. Wherever you go, there you are. And the other thing is, be in exchange with other people. Don't always try to get the freebie or whatever else. Don't buy the cheapest thing. Don't always buy something on special. You know, occasionally, if you really love it, pay full price for it. If you're in scarcity, pay full price for it, just for that one time. My great teacher used to say to me, if I had nothing, I was down to $800, you know, and I was still doing my work, but no one was coming for it. He said I'd go out and buy a suit worth $800 to actually go and present to more people. You know, I doubled down on my commitment to actually show up for people in a better way, you know, than I was before. And so, yeah, you know, be the change you want to see in the world. Step first and allow the universe to be friendly, which is what Einstein died wondering, pondering, you know, looking at, sending him crazy. The universe must be a friendly universe, because he'd have a problem and the answer would come to him before he created a solution. He'd got the answer and then he'd go, how do I get that? How did I get to there? How do I get from the problem? He knew it was the answer. How did that come to me? And then he'd have to paint the scenario to get it. But someone would say something about their relationship and he'd go, oh, and he'd get the answer. So he knew that the universe is a friendly universe, but he couldn't prove it. You know, and it is. And so don't try and prove it, just open to the possibility.
Yeah, well said. Last question, because I always want to speak to the person that's, you know, we're 2 years into this now. There are a lot more people that are asking more questions, but not quite prepared to go, this narrative isn't, you know, like, and they might be sitting in a little bit of fear. They might be sitting in, I don't really want to, it's all my friends, I don't want to, like, you know, want to keep the peace or like that. But deep in your heart and soul, you know that this isn't working. So just speak to that person for a couple of minutes about going on their hero's journey, going all in on all in, like, you know, ask more questions, follow your heart, whatever you want to say to that. And then we'll invite you to talk a bit about your boot camp for the soul and so on.
Thanks, mate. Two things that are probably the last two things that I'm letting go of. It appears at this point, there'll be more, right? But one was being in opposition. I was always out to win and control, because the winner gets everything. And that's still coming out of me. I still find days, well, it's just the energy's just there. So I'm deconstructing that old ego still. It's quite crazy. But you go, well, what's the use if it takes you 30 years to deconstruct it? Every day it's got better. Every day of my life has got better since I've started deconstructing it. So it's not about whether it's deconstructed, it's about whether I am deconstructing it, because every day it's got infinitely better. The other one is the need to be liked. You know, the need to be liked or admired. And God, Craig, that has been so strong in me for so long. Need to be liked, loved, acknowledged, understood, admired, approved, validated. It's all connected. So in my family, but in my friendships. So everything that I did that was harmful to people that actually loved me, I did to get someone else to like me. That's the insanity of it. It's crazy. I wanted those guys to continue. I wanted to be loved and acknowledged and liked and validated and kept up on the pedestal by my peers. you know. So a lot of, let's call it evil, the road, road to, it was the road to is paved with good intentions, road to hell is paved with good intentions. A lot of shit that I did was done while I was trying to be loved by someone else, you know. And instead of loving the people that are with me, it's easy, you've got them. It's sort of been a long time thing. I went for the love of the people that didn't love me. I said this to my daughter the other day, my youngest daughter, Charlie. I said the people that don't love you, I call them from something I learned a long time ago, negative energy fields, you know, fields of energy that running through people that aren't their true self, you know, that become a persona and a way of being but it's actually a field of negative energy that's operating inside of them. It's basically said to the person that doesn't love you is in negativity, because when you're not in negativity, you love everybody. So you're trying to actually get someone in negativity to love you. And that's okay. They're in negativity. That's fine. That's their journey. Your job is to love them because they don't have what you have. So stop trying to get the people that don't love you or don't like what you're saying to like you or love you. You don't have to say things to push them away or go the opposite way and say, F you, I'm out of here. You're an arsehole and our friendship is dead. You just say, hey, I'm moving on to my truth. I'm going to be true to myself. What do you do? Oh, yeah. So I recently, as you know, jumped on stage and at one of our Tweed rallies and spoke. I've spoke a lot. So one of the ladies, Renat, said, I see so many people so nervous. And I wasn't nervous at all because I was just waiting for the call. I was waiting for spirit to say it's your time. And I knew it was time. And I got on stage and spoke, and it went to over 100,000 people have watched it. Like, it's gone all over the place. And I suppose when people speak their truth in a moment, it makes other people feel that they can follow their truth. So I had so much love from that. But I've become the anti-V poster boy. That's my label now. My son, you know, they said you can't race in New South Wales unless you've got the V. And so my son said, well, I guess you'll know if I'm down there what decision I've made to the media, because they asked him. And then they posted it. He's down. Oh, anti-V, son of anti-V poster boy, you know, Trevor, is going to be his own man. You know, so they tried to divide and conquer us. So my son that sparked the awakening in me, that I've done this whole journey with. We won an Australian title together. We're with nothing but love for each other. We are so close. We share everything. My son is my best mate. I get so emotional when I say that. My son, all my kids are my best mates. You know, like, and this is the way negativity works. Is when you speak your truth, they'll go, all right, we'll tear you and your son apart. Well, good luck doing that. You know. It feels horrible while you try, because it tests the edges and the boundaries and makes you stronger ultimately. And then, you know, they assumed he made whatever decision he made because he ended up in Sydney, which he was allowed to be no matter what, because you're allowed to cross back into Queensland. So it's kind of crazy that when you step, you won't get hate. You'll only get that from the people that are living in hate. You'll get that from the people that are living in fear. They might not be living in hate, but they're living in fear. And the energy that's got them fearful is hatred, is a hateful energy. It hates human beings. It hates you thinking you're powerful. It hates you knowing you're powerful. That energy hates you thinking that you don't need it anymore. So when you go, you'll get freedom, you know, and you won't get freedom granted to you. You'll actually take it back for yourself because you're standing in your own thing. You don't have to be anti. You don't have to swing the pedestal the other way. Just step towards your truth, you know, and people will love you, and some will come out of the closet and say, oh my God, thank you for saying that or doing that or going that way. And some will go, what? And deep down they'll go, oh my God, I hope he or she's right, you know. And as you go towards it, they'll be watching from over there. And when you've safely stepped and made it, they'll go, I think I'm coming with you, you know. And so ultimately, that's where freedom doesn't come from. Come here and you'll be free. We'll give you freedom. Freedom comes from stepping first. That's freedom, because you're free. You didn't need anyone else to tell you, you know. So I've got nothing but love from the whole thing. And crazy attention. It's been really interesting, the attention. But respect, people are stopping me in the street, thanking me on behalf of their kids and their family, and left, right, and centre. I used to get stopped. Pat Cash said this to me. He said, "I haven't had so much love since I won Wimbledon." When he started speaking out, people stop in the street. "Hey, champ, good job." Years ago. "Hey, champ, good job, my God, well done." Now they're stopping me saying, "Hey, champ, thanks for being you. Oh my God," and they're crying, tears in their eyes, and saying thank you. And the funny thing is, I'm willing to speak any day, any moment about the truth. I've been doing a lot on podcasts lately, and I constantly ask the universe. I have a very good relationship with her. I call her a she, the mother, and I wait for her to say, "Hey, Trevor, I want you to speak this weekend." I felt the pull to Canberra. I went there spiritually. I was there with you guys 100%. I was there from the Monday onwards, holding space for leadership to occur, to find itself. And I think Sam might have popped into a bit of that role, but I felt the pull. I never felt the push, so I didn't go. It's like, you're not meant to be there. And I just had the craziest 3 days of freedom in my life at the same time that was happening from being true to it. When I looked at the people on the stage, they're all my mates. I'm like, I would love to be there in that moment. I'm like, well, it's happening again at the end of the month. Maybe push there, but whatever. But ultimately, there's a greater force that's actually guiding this. There's a hidden hand of love and spirit. And that when you follow it and you go with it, you discover that is your higher self as well. That is who you are. That's who we all are. And we're co-creating this reality right now. We start to realize that we can consciously co-create it, and we can make a different decision. As soon as the quantum fields, the collective number, get to the right amount, that the vibrational balance is in, it's not 50-50, by the way, it's nowhere near that. It's probably 3 to 5%. As soon as that collective number gets to the right number, the shift will occur, and so in the meantime, they're pissing off more and more people and causing them to wake up. So, I've always said the booster's going to save the day, because people go, they're going to bring in a booster. Go, bring it in, because those that haven't woken up yet, a small percentage will go, what? I did what you told me to, and I now have to what? And my green tick's going to disappear unless I what? F you, I'm out. These people over here, that the anti-Vs, they look really happy. They look free already. They're still moving around without a mask on, So don't play by their rules and come out and join the team that have already woken, which is a large percentage of people.
Yeah. Well said. I just want to contribute to this because I think there'll be some value for people just through my own story. You mentioned about the divide between yourself and your son, and the attack and the attempt and all that. I interviewed Gareth Ike, and his dad's been iconic in this space for 30 years of his 20 books, etc. And Gareth said in the early 2000s, around 2007 and 8, he was an aspiring musician, and a musician company, so in the system, said, look, we will give you, let's say $100,000 to do a record label, but you have to disassociate yourself with your dad. But he made the decision to say, no, I'm connected to my dad, and they've built their brand to what it is today, et cetera, et cetera. But
I had tears in my eyes when you said that, by the way, because David Icke, I knew about David Icke in 1994, right? And his books, and everything else were open and revealed to me back then. And he was my Robert Chapman of spirituality. Yeah. So of freedom, of truth. And because he literally said, when you step and tell the truth, they're going to laugh at you in the street, and this beautiful thing will happen where you will no longer care what anybody thinks. That's the finish to what I was saying before, but please go on.
So for me, I've been on it, since 2007 on that journey where it was Food Inc. and learning about, the way they were trying to farm. And then it was 10 years in nutritional supplements. And it was like, big pharma are not our friends, and the global financial crisis, the banking. And then I went on the spiritual journey around the Ethan scenario. And through traveling through 120 different cities in the world, I started to really wake up to what was happening in the world. And very early on, my biggest value of freedom was challenged, because I was used to doing what I want, when I want, with whoever I want, and traveling 20 weeks a year in different countries around the world, experience what the wonderful world had to offer. So when they took that away from me, I felt like a bird in a birdcage. So I come out in about May 2020, when I was looking at my 2 children at dinner, and I said, I know what's going on here. And I've been following this journey through following David and that for a very long time. And I said, I have to stand up. I have to speak up. I've been coaching people in business for 20 years, or not the whole time. But I said to myself, this doesn't feel right. I could never live with myself and say, and the question came back, Dad, what did you do in 2020 when we were under attack? And, they took away our freedoms. The answer to that was, I knew what was going on, but just watch a footy and just wrote it out. We could do financially. That was never going to be acceptable. So I come out and started speaking up about it. I started my podcast and so on and so on. So I got torn down because I was felt like one of the only people. And then I was getting deplatformed. So it was making me look even crazier. And then I was having uncomfortable conversations with people that I really had wonderful relationships with. I got defamed by a couple of entrepreneurs, said, do you see this guy? I used to respect him as a business person. But ultimately it was, I want people to think for themselves. I want people to see the truth. I want people to ask questions for themselves. And I was prepared to sacrifice my personal brand, if that's what you could call it, because, if it was really resonated with me to a point where I just needed to do something and feel a part of it. And that sort of led me to build a new tribe. It's led me to work with the right type of people. It's led me to have conversations like we've had and be a part of small groups where you're working together. And it's been like, my growth through the last 2 years and my experience through the last 2 years, the conversations I've had in the last 2 years has been phenomenal. So if you are sitting there, join the tribe, ask more questions, come to a rally, speak up, just really test your truth and just step forward every single day and walk that truth. And if you want to add anything into that before we wrap up, I think.
I would say, it's not join the tribe. Remember you are in the tribe. Remember, this is your tribe. Remember you're a part of it. This tribe doesn't exist without you. This is not, we're not actually going somewhere. We're remembering who we really are and leaving behind who we thought we were, which allowed us to be controlled quite easily. So there's so much beauty in what you just said, mate, and in the fact that you speak your truth and you step somewhere, people will follow you. It all comes through. It all works itself out, and it's the time to have that courage and the time to step before the promises or the guarantees or the safety's there. It's just step when you feel the call to step. Don't step because it's the right thing. It'll make you appear brave, or I should do it. Just know that, that means I'm probably going to at some point in time soon. And just wait until spirit inside of you, because it's spirit you're going towards, until spirit inside of you says, it's your time. Speak your truth today, or step out today, or step away today, or whatever it is. So there was something else you said, and I can't recall it right now, but man, it's I heard whistling while you were talking, and that's the Pied Piper. You've been Pied Pipering for the positive, for such a long period of time. And it's crazy, of all the people you would potentially lose through that journey, all the people you've gained. And none of the people you've actually lost. They come through ultimately, because the truth exists for everybody. It's not like, oh, you didn't do it, you're not allowed into our new tribe. You are our tribe. Thanks for staying angry with me and pushing me further into it, because you'll be welcome when you come, because you played your role by being an ass towards me, or whatever it is. But it's an amazing journey, mate. And I'm just kind of proud that between us we've managed to stay true for long enough to get it. By the way, going way back, just really, really quickly, I didn't wake up originally from courage. I woke up because my son arrived and reached me and looked into my eyes and said, it's time to change. When I first went into this chiropractor and these courses, when the teacher appeared, when they said, how are you? I said, good. And they'd say, no, you're not. Well, yes, I am. And they're like, no, you're not. You're full of shit. You're not actually good at all. You got this collapsing, that collapsing, this is falling apart. You can change all that. So I didn't go in and go, I'm ready to change. I went in and went, I'm good. I'm just checking out a bit of this to see if it helps me to win more. And they're like, you're full of shit, mate. You got some shit to look at. So I didn't even arrive at the place of personal change from immense courage and a moment of like, I'm going to be the one now that changes it. I'm going to be responsible for my son. I actually still was, kind of gutless, But the more you stick around the people that have found that courage, and they probably didn't arrive with that either, But the more you stick around them, they pass it on to you, and you go, oh, gutless me is finally actually ready to have some courage. And in some ways, standing on stage was maybe the first time. Now, I've publicly stood a lot, but just haven't had to stand in a place so divisive, middle of a divisive thing. But I've told my truth and talked to people about my pitfalls. And I believe that the people that are actually waking up and remembering that we're all tried, we're all the ones that have actually got honest about the ways that we've effed up along the way, that we've stopped pretending we're good and we're pretending we're onto it, pretending that my intentions are pure, I've had great intentions for a long time, but they've also been surrounded by the intentions of myself that still wanted to be center of attention and get what he wanted. So you don't get to the tribe by being good, you get there by being real. And that's what I'd say to people. For whatever's resonated during this conversation, I have huge love for not huge love for everyone. This is all about love. This is nothing but love, and I'm remembering and I'm realizing that where we're going is a place where we know ourselves as love. I'm not there fully. I have moments where I feel like I'm all love, and then the next moment, like, okay, not all love, bit mad, a bit stupid, and a bit revengeful again. So just know that it's not about perfection; it's about connection.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And on that note, where would you like to send people your boot camps, Trevor Hendy website?
If you got kids,
Voices for Choices.
If you got 8 to sort of 15, 16-year-old kids and you want to see some interesting resources and stuff, go to lifechanger.org.au. Scotty Waters, my great mate, and I co-founded that organisation about 5 years ago now. I'm not doing a lot of work in there at the moment. The team are doing amazing things. About 10,000 kids a year they're seeing now, about 1,000 mentors they're bringing through in communities. So just check it out if it's in your area. We've got a lot in Victoria and South Australia and stuff, and growing rapidly into New South Wales and others. So that's cool to check out. But for me, trevorhendy.com, soulbootcamp.trevorhendy.com is actually a 12-week course that's actually being reconstructed at the moment. So it's on hold, but keep an eye on it or subscribe and we'll let you know when it's ready to go again. Trevor Hendy YouTube channel, got some really cool adventures with my wife. I'm up to like 500 subscribers now, so it's pretty much a YouTube sensation. But cool adventures, and I occasionally get on and talk about different things on there as well. I'm on Instagram, and I'm about to do a lot more talking on Instagram, probably a little Wednesday wisdom each week, and just little quick, 1 or 2 minute things. I tried to do a 2-minute 3 days ago, and it turned into 12 minutes. I haven't posted it yet, but that might get posted soon. But yeah, just like voices 4 choices.life. Parentswithquestions.com is not my organization. That's Adam Gibson and a beautiful bunch of people doing amazing things if you want to check that out. But yeah, plenty of places to find us, but we are tribe anyway. So we're all together anyway, so when you find yourself listening to something I've said, just know that I'm hopefully speaking partly on our behalf, because we're all going to a better place, even though we're in a shit place right now. But let's thank it. There's a silver lining in this. There's always a silver lining. The universe never gives you a problem without hiding a solution within it, and never gives you something you can't handle. I started with that, I'll finish with that. And while this looks drastic and terrible, you have what it takes to get through it, and we have what it takes to get through it. So love to everybody.
And from me, I just want to thank you for taking the time. I just lost track of time. These interviews typically go for an hour, but when you're just talking to someone of true heart and soul and just you're getting pure wisdom and love, it's pretty hard not to give as much value as possible. So for me, I want to thank you.